Hey, everybody, and welcome to Nerds That Know. That is Pascal the dragon, because I broke down and bought Galdagoon some TikTok shop dragon.
What's up? What are you saying? What's up? What's up, world?
I'm Duchess Bobby, and with us also we have Tank. Tonight is a very special episode of Nerds That Know because we are focusing entirely on Doctor Who. As some of you may remember, back in early November, we were all getting really excited for the specials that were coming up end of November throughout December, and knew that we would end up going down a very deep, very dark rabbit hole of all things Doctor Who. And so instead of several conversations over the course of 2 months, we're just going full on Whovian tonight.
Are you guys ready to see me at my nerdiest? I mean, I'm pretty nerdy normally, but we're talking all Doctor Who. I mean, you saw what happened when we talked a minute of Doctor Who on the last one.
Yeah.
Because I got all.
I'm actually surprised you're not wearing one of your many Doctor Who t-shirts.
I don't find any of them.
They're hanging up in the closet.
I know. I panicked.
Okay, anyways, doesn't matter. All right, so Tank, let's go ahead. Just get basic general reactions from each of the specials that happened, starting with the Star Beast.
Oh, the Star Beast was hilarious.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it was a fun way to kind of restart, to a certain extent, Doctor Who, and to conclude Doctor Who at the same time when it comes to David Tennant's version. Very fun. Reintroducing Donna was... I thought it was cool. I know some people thought it was, iffy and all that stuff, but I thought it was fun.
Donna is definitely one of my favorite companions, so I'm really glad that they brought her back for this and that they figured out her brain. Because Dr. Donna was very cool, but, also brain melting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
brain melting.
I get where Russell was going with the initial idea, and it was heartbreaking and heart-wrenching, but with everything else going on in the Whoniverse, that had to be fixed because you knew that sometime England's not that big of a country, and the Doctor is going to run into him at some point. So I'm glad they just took care of it now instead of waiting till she's, old and decrepit and then kind of, she's still in the height of her career. So it's fun to see them replay that character when they're still doing their thing at their highest. And that's what I enjoyed the most, was that they took care of that whole thing and didn't wait forever to do it.
And then at the end of the third one, Donna's whole story arc gets another branch, with everything. So I'm going to just say right now, there will be spoilers if you have not yet watched all of the Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials. Put this on pause, watch them now. They're all on Disney Plus. And then come back and join us because we have been waiting. So not to do any spoilers. So right now, this is your River Song spoilers warning.
Yeah, don't get mad at us. We told you.
So
we've been talking about this for weeks, actually. You should have watched it by now. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, definitely.
He is the beep of the meep.
I am the beep of the motherfucking meat.
Which, by the way, what a brilliant character. I know it came from an old serial already, but the way that they did it was awesome.
Yeah, it was an old comic book.
Yeah.
But it was a Doctor Who comic. So
from the 70s.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. And the way.
And what's the actress's name who is the voice?
God, I can't remember, but she is awesome. And I didn't know how much of a career she actually had. Like, she's been
Cicely
in
Faye.
everything.
Thank you.
What's her name?
Cicely Faye.
She's been in everything. Literally everything.
So
yeah, she's done a lot of other work.
Yeah, I thought that character was just fantastic. And I really, really want a Meep squishy.
Do you want one that changes faces though? So it goes
Yes.
from like the super nice and cute to
Fucking
evil
I
as
would
shit.
squeeze it and have it have angry face.
Yeah,
That's kind of
because
fun.
it starts off like it draws you in as this sweet little creature on the run, and then you find out that he's a psycho murderer that bent on moral domination.
I am the beep of the meep. And we actually got some on-screen time for our boy Bernard Cribbins.
Yeah, well, we knew that they had filmed some of it before he passed.
Right.
Because he passed last summer.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd been working on this for, a couple of years. If you listen to the interviews with Russell T Davies and David Tennant and Catherine Tate, it's them all talking about how they first came up with the idea of the exact term was getting the band back together during a COVID video chat where they were all just sitting around in their own homes bored. So they decided to all get on, a Zoom chat with each other. They were having so much fun that it was hey, what would be cool? So 2020 is really what helped to ignite this whole thing that we just got.
It's fun too because you can see not just the characters and how well they love each other, but literally the actors are like best friends. Catherine Tate and David Tennant. This is not the only on-screen stuff they've done. We've talked about that a little bit in the past. They do a lot of stuff together because they genuinely like working with each other, and it's obvious just watching the two of them on screen.
Yeah, their version of Much Ado is my favorite.
Yeah.
Also, I think it was a Saturday Night Live skit that was David Tennant was the ghost of Christmas Present. And Catherine Tate is the one that gets visited by the ghosts.
Yeah, that one's great.
Where he comes in, to the Ghostbusters theme song, and it's his ringtone. Post the link to that one. That one's actually popped up on my TikTok a lot. And I will always watch it all the way through, even though it's like a 3-minute video, which doesn't sound like a long time, but it is if you're on TikTok.
Yeah, 3-minute TikTok is forever.
But yeah, they're great together. I really liked Rose Noble. Doctor Who has always had a very queer, positive, LGBTQ plus, ally sort of vibe to it since the beginning. But when they went and had this major character who's trans, and it's not oh well, did you know, it's just like commonplace, this is normal conversation, this is how we talk about things, and it was just very commonplace, and it was very awesome the way that they did that. Plus then when Donna is going into brain meltdown, and she's going binary, 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 and then you see Rose go non-binary. I laughed a lot.
Well, and I think they handled even from the first part of this 3-part special. They gave you a hint that something's gone wrong, and that's why David Tennant is the new Doctor after the regeneration, because he doesn't even understand what happened. Why am I in this body again? What happened? What's going wrong?
Which they never really explain, except for
they
the
kind of do
Donna thing. That's kind of the only.
Well, no, it's not just the Donna thing. It's also that that's why they had to go jumping forward to the end of the Toymaker. That's why they had to do the bi-generation instead of regeneration, because that body, that storyline needed to stop, needed to take a break. He'd been going forever, and that face has a family.
Now, here's the thing: is that Doctor? Does he end up being the Tom Baker Doctor in the 50th anniversary? Does that close that storyline off too?
I think it closes off all of those storylines, and also and it also lets you understand something kind of that we got a hint at when we had oh god, who was it? The one that was the museum curator.
Yeah, Tom Baker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they had him come back, and they had the other one with Capaldi and all that stuff, they've had
Yeah.
the idea that even when they regenerate, the doctors, as they are trapped at some point in time. They
Right.
still exist at some point in time, no matter if they
Which is why you can
regenerated
have
or not.
multiple doctors in the same space.
Yeah, exactly. So they're just kind of giving us an explanation for how that seemingly happens, is that even when they regenerate, they still exist. And that they had to kill off this version of the Doctor by not killing him, but saying he's been alive too long now. And he needs to rest, and he needs to finally stop, which is why we got the bi-generational thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And honestly, the fact that David Tennant is still the Doctor, he has his own TARDIS, he's living with the Noble family. Like, there's so much story that could just like pop in at any time now. Because, you know, in that final dinner that they're having, he's already gone several places and done several things after his retirement.
With Rose.
Well, and with what's her name from the redhead.
Ace.
Not Donna, the other redhead.
The old one.
Yes.
The one from
Anyways,
Sylvester McCoy's doctor. What the fuck was her name? She was working for UNIT. When they went to
Anyways.
UNIT, she was one of the people that worked for UNIT. I can't remember her name.
Melanie.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you.
Bonnie Langford as Melanie. Yes.
Yeah. But he had already gone and taken her places and taken Rose places, and
Yeah.
you know.
But now he doesn't have to worry about all the other shit that he's already been through. And the new doctor doesn't have to worry about any of that other stuff. He can do his own thing,
Yeah.
essentially.
So, I thought the episode at the edge of space, which all happens because Donna spills coffee on the console.
Whoops. Yeah.
So wild.
The wild blue yonder.
The wild blue yonder. It's scary
It's
and
so
nonsensical. And, you know, it's everything you want from a Doctor Who episode. You know, it's the classic, you know, we're locked in a spaceship and we got to figure our way out. You know, they've done this 100 times. Russell did it. Steven did it. You know, I don't remember a specific time when, you know, Chibnall did it, but they've all done this a million times, right? But it's different this time because they're on the edge of the universe. Time and space is all wonky. There are things there that have no idea what's going on, right? You know, like they're interdimensional space beings that just hate things. It's such a Doctor Who episode, really.
Yeah. Well, and
My
I
arms
like,
are too long.
Okay, I saw a meme today. I reposted it. You'll see it on the Nerds page, where it is a photo with Matt Smith and, you know, a bunch of other characters. But it's a behind the scenes photo. But the first person in the photo is wearing a black blazer, and the last person in the photo is also wearing a black blazer, and that you can see the arm, and then underneath it's David Tennant. It says your arms are too long. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, you know, and it let Donna and the Doctor have conversations with each other that they wouldn't have had if they had been the Donna and the Doctor.
And that was probably the best part, was the way they wrote for 4 different characters with those 2 actors.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Interacting with each other was awesome. I loved that. I loved the way that they spoke to each other.
And even when you're just kind of figuring out that there's multiple things going on, the way that's written to the point where you're like, timeout, what are they? Is this like a, you know, you have to think about it. And that's what I enjoyed, was like, there's a lot of stuff with Russell's doing. And even the episode we had today, or Christmas Eve, where they're explaining a lot of the science-y stuff that they haven't done before. And they're making the Doctor a genius again. Just with different things and explaining things differently, and that the conversation with those four, it's just very interesting the way they do it.
Yeah.
Well, and the way they kind of give you at the end what's been going on in the background.
Right.
These seemingly nonsensical things that are just happening with this weird robot and the speaker system announcing something, and it's kind of just letting it play out until the very end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, plus you have that whole, Mavity.
Yeah. Which is still continuing, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught that in the Christmas Eve one.
Mm-hmm.
He busts out some Mavity at one point.
He's like, these gloves, all of the Mavity is here.
So Mavity is canon now.
Yes, it is.
Which is fantastic.
It was just a fun episode, it's spacey, wacy, and there's stretching time, and then it, goes back to the human condition, and now, humanity's hatred for each other is what's causing these things to hate things, and it's the way Doctor Who is supposed to be written. It's for kids. It's you're learning things while you're doing it, and it's fun.
Yeah, well, and then the way that it led into the final episode of the specials with Neil Patrick Harris, like, wow. And David Tennant's like, I opened the door to this with the salt.
Mm-hmm. He lets you know that it was his fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's another reason why, the bi-generation was so important, is because he's taken so much. Yeah, Liz, we love the Mavity as well.
Mavity.
Yeah. We love so much that he has taken all of this on himself. So now he has a chance to take a break. But watching the bi-generation, the split, happening on the rooftop of Unit, where he has to have his two redheads pull him apart, and the details in that scene, right? So David Tennant starts off wearing a suit, socks and shoes, right? And then after the split, his dress shirt is now on
Ncuti Gatwa.
Thank you.
It's Ncuti is actually, I believe, the way it's pronounced.
Correct.
We actually looked it up. It's pronounced Ncuti Gatwa.
Thank you.
Gatwa. Okay.
Yeah.
So Ncuti is actually wearing the dress shirt and the socks and the underwear.
Yeah.
David Tennant still has the pants, the shoes, and the jacket.
And the vest. No,
And the
jacket.
vest, yeah.
Yeah, the vest, an undershirt, and socks. Or no, and shoes with no socks.
Yeah.
So, like, it's interesting how they did the clothing split. For those of you who don't, oh yes, and the tie.
Yeah.
For those of you who do not follow Georgia Tennant on social media, shame on you, and you should, because she put up a post.
She's awesome.
About how being around David makes her pants fall off too. So
she was linking an article from Ncuti where Ncuti was interviewed, and they were talking about how David Tennant helped him in his first scene, and David Tennant is the reason why his pants are off in the first scene. And it goes into like his development of how he considers the Doctor and how they worked out the pants split and all that stuff. And it was a very interesting article. But then Georgia Tennant was like, yeah, he makes my pants fall off too.
I love Georgia Tennant. She's fantastic. Also follow her on TikTok for those of you who don't. She's fabulous. They will just like she'll do random stuff on her own, but she'll also get David on a bunch of stuff where she's like, look, we're going grocery shopping.
The trip to Morrison's is one of my favorite candid David Tennant moments. Are we really filming a trip to Morrison's? We're going to the other Morrison's.
And it's fabulous.
And I like how they approached with the idea of the toy maker, because for those who are not Doctor Who long time fans, the last time the toy maker was there was 1966.
Yeah.
And it was kind of an awful episode, to be honest, and
It was.
pointless. But
this one,
they took the character and they gave you the real stakes of what the toy maker means, and that he can control
everything.
whatever he wants.
And-
He can everything.
Yeah, just manipulates atoms basically. The interesting thing that I thought was funny was how well it was played, because he kept losing the accent. You know, he kept doing the Gaputz, you know, putting GA in front of it because it's just that terrible, terrible German accent. Like
Mhm.
he made references to the original serial in that aspect because it was so poorly played the first time. It was such a great character, but so poorly played and poorly written. They really took that and made it something awesome. And yeah, the writing was great, but the acting was insanely good. Like you got such an impression of what that character could be, you know, just off the wall, nuts, keeps changing accents in the middle of things, just throws out silly like mispronunciations of things. Like, it was so well played. So well played.
Neil Patrick Harris is one of my all-time favorite actors. I think he's ridiculously talented. You know, he's hosted the Tonys and the Emmys and the Grammys, and you know, he can sing. He's just like, oh my God. He's been nominated for a shit ton of awards, and I'm very, very much in love with him. I know I'm not his type.
I was going to say, so's his husband.
But I'm okay with that. You know, and oh my God, his twins are just so freaking adorable.
Are we
Okay.
buying the bullshit that he's selling about the fact that he's actually never watched Doctor Who in his life?
No, it's not.
Not
He
even a
said he'd
little.
never watched Doctor Who before. He said, I've never even heard of Doctor Who
Are
before.
we buying this? Because he is
No, we're
such a
not.
fucking nerd. He is such a fucking nerd. Like, we know this about him. He is a nerd. There's
Okay.
no way. He's so
No.
full of shit. That is such a troll job.
It was completely because he has said in other interviews how much he was excited about being given this opportunity.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things that he probably said it, in passing when somebody was giving him shit. He's like, oh, really? Doctor Who? What's that?
Yeah.
And then a bunch of people just jumped on it.
It's such a good troll job, though.
Yeah. What's really cool is he is a master magician. Like he is, a grand poobah, senior somebody at like this magician's castle in California, where you have to have like entry fees and whatever to even go and visit this place. So when he was toy maker, he actually got to do a lot of sleight of hand and magician-y things as part of his character.
Yeah, he does an amazing job too.
Yeah, no, I've actually got to meet Neil Patrick Harris in person, and I just like throwing that information out there. And he actually did a magic trick for the audience because it was at a book signing. He's written a series of children's books, as well as a couple of he wrote an autobiography, but it's a choose your own adventure autobiography. So like at the end of each chapter, it's like, if you want to find out what happens with blah, 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 go to page 57. If you want to find out what happens with blah, 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 go to chapter 12.
That's fun.
It's hilarious. And I loved it. But like, he actually is a freaking amazing magician. Like watching him do it in person and then seeing it on screen was really cool.
Well, and the way they even introduced the character as this having existed in this universe of Earth since the 1920s,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mhm.
at the very least. And the advent of television apparently is where he buried this toy, essentially, that created the giggle that finally came to fruition 80 years later.
One of the things I love, and I love everything about Doctor Who, but one of the things I really love about it is how well all of the writing makes basic human things or things that we fear or see in everyday life or things like that, makes you think about them and then be like, is that evil and nefarious? Like statues, they're now weeping angels everywhere. You know, anytime you turn around and forget what you were doing, it's now the silence. You know, the shadows under the bed, the Vashna Narada. You know, we talked about it. The swarm that eats people. Now you're scared of the shadows again. And
and now apparently goblins are what create all accidents.
right.
Oh God, yeah, I love that they did that.
But in this episode, it was
Stooky Bill.
Stooky Bill, the original image that was put on television. And now you're thinking, everybody's seen a television. Like it's something that's plausible. You know, one of the Stephen Moffat things that was one of the first it was one of the first Matt Smith with Jenna Coleman was where it's the internet, the Wi-Fi is taking over. You know, now you're scared of the fucking internet. It's the way they manipulate things that are basic human understanding, things that we take for granted, and make you rethink about those things. You know, hatred on TV. You know, the fact that it reached all the way to the end of the universe. That, you know, the giggle. It's buried in television that we've all seen. I love the fact that they can just take basic things and turn them into our fears again. You know, make you rethink everything.
One of the things that really stuck with me so much about the end of that episode is when you get the second TARDIS, and now all of a sudden it's wheelchair accessible. Right? There's a ramp.
Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently what happened was some fan had written a letter to Russell T Davies saying, I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. I know that as someone who is, you know, mobility limited in a wheelchair, I could never be a companion, but you take me places that I would have never imagined. And it was that one letter, and there was probably many. But it was that one moment where he said, well, we can fix that. You know, because it had never clicked that the TARDIS wasn't handicap accessible. And now it is.
Yeah. What a weird little thing that they omitted that suddenly became a very big thing. You know, like taking something for granted like that, like we were talking about. The TARDIS was not wheelchair accessible. So they took that and put a ramp on it, and it's a huge moment in the episode. It's a huge moment in the episode. And it's like, oh my God, this thing's been around for 60 years, and those things have been around for 100, and nobody's ever thought that, you know, you couldn't get in and out of them.
Yeah. The actress who plays the character in Unit, who is in the wheelchair, listening to her do an interview about that scene, she's just in tears, talking about how amazing it was for someone who is in a wheelchair to see that transformation, that tiny little moment that makes the whole thing change. You know, and I think that's one of the things that Doctor Who does in all of the episodes and everything that Doctor Who does, is it takes that one little thing, like Clara and the Leaf.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, it takes that one little thing and it just makes it minor in a most important way. It's like, yes, we need to do this. This is important, but we're not going to dwell on it because it shouldn't be, oh, we get a gold star for doing this thing. It needs to be done, so it's done.
It's the Matt Smith quote, in 900 years of time and space, I've never met anyone that wasn't important.
Exactly.
I've always loved that quote. And that's what Doctor Who's all about. You know, everyone can get involved.
So then we watched the newest episode that was a Christmas Eve special. Our brand new Doctor. This is considered what, season 1?
Yeah, this is season 1.
But he's still the 15th Doctor.
Yes.
Yes.
And you know, it's only going to be on Disney Plus now. It's not going to be the new episodes moving forward will not be on BBC. Disney is now the home of Doctor Who. I'm wondering how long it'll take for all of the old episodes that are currently available on Max to funnel into Disney. I mean, it'll definitely be on the adult version of Disney.
I think, isn't there 2 different contracts? So in Europe, it's still on BBC, but in America,
Yes.
it's on Disney Plus. So technically, all the old stuff will still be on Max, and the new stuff going forward, now with the new contracts, is all going to be on Disney.
But will it eventually, like the X-Men,
Could be.
As the contract ends, it'll slowly get integrated back into...
Could be.
And that will be once they'll have to figure that contract out. I don't know if they've had that discussion yet because those rights aren't available yet. I don't think because of the BBC contract with HBO.
I would be 100% okay with Doctor Who moving over to Disney, and it's not anything to do with anything about Disney. It's the functionality of the apps. Max has a couple of really strange issues. If you're watching TV shows and you stop an episode and you just turn it off or move or whatever, you come back to it, if it will pick up the next episode, but it will pick up the next episode at the exact timestamp that you were on the episode previous.
I don't know if that's actually a Max issue or if that's that we share Max with other people and other people also watch the stuff that we watch.
No, I think it's a Max issue because it's constant when we watch West Wing, when we watch Doctor Who, all of the shows that we
Where's
watch.
the other people?
Hi, baby.
Who are the other people?
Uncle
Who's
Go.
Jula?
Hi, sweet girl.
Hi,
baby.
Jula.
Uncle
Hi.
Go took his sons to dinner. And he took Aunt Sarah and your cousins out for dinner tonight. So that's why he's not with us tonight. But I'll tell him you said hi and you wanted to know where he is.
That's fun for cousins.
It is fun for cousins. Are you having a good day?
Do you want to hear?
Are you playing with all your new Christmas toys?
Yeah, but I can't have my scooter.
Yeah, it's probably because there's ice outside.
I can't play with it yet because there's snow outside and
Okay.
I can't do it in the house.
Well, that's a good idea. Don't do the scooter in the house. You'll break something.
Good night. I love you.
Good night, Daddy.
Good night.
Good night, Amy.
Good night, sweetheart.
I guess I'm chopped liver today. Didn't want to talk to me at all today.
Don't touch that.
Hank again, Joe.
Ah!
See,
Yeah.
Scarlett still loves you.
Somebody still loves me.
Gross, Daddy. Did you just burp sulfur? Gross.
I just burped. I'm sick. Remember?
All right, he's sick.
And apparently he burped sulfur. Mimic, look what Gonzo got.
Ah, that's a cool snake.
He's
It's a dragon.
He's a dragon.
Don't touch that.
Cool.
Are you playing with your Christmas toys?
Yeah, yes.
Isn't that your new jammies from Mima?
No, these aren't my new ones.
Oh, okay. I know you got Pokemon jammies from Mima. That is quite the facial expression. For those of you who are listening and not watching, our beautiful 8-year-old niece is making fabulous facial expressions and giving you guys finger guns.
You gotta make the noise with the finger gun. So do the psh, psh. Do it. Yeah.
Good job. All right.
Who's Doctor Who?
Well, if you don't know who Doctor Who is yet, that means that Daddy needs to introduce you to Doctor Who.
Ladder.
You said
Okay.
Doctor Who.
Doctor Who.
Doctor
Love you.
Love
Who.
you. Good night.
Doctor Who.
Night. I love you, Daddy.
Doctor Who.
So James,
What is it?
shut the door.
All right. You apparently have got to teach the girls about Doctor Who. Our other brother-in-law has been teaching his girls about Doctor Who for many years, and actually had the best reason and logic behind Santa Claus ever. And that is, Santa is a Time Lord.
Makes sense.
He looks different when you see him in different places because of regeneration, right? He can get everywhere in one night because he has a TARDIS. That's also why he can carry all of the toys, because his sleigh is bigger on the inside. He can get into any house, even if you don't have a fireplace, because he uses the sonic screwdriver, right? This all makes sense.
Yeah, it tracks.
So Santa Claus is a Time Lord.
I feel like you did this on purpose.
You joined right after the girls asked about you.
Oh, no kidding. That's funny.
Yeah.
He just walked in the door.
Directly afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, seriously,
That's
it was
funny.
less than 2 minutes.
No
Julie goes,
kidding.
where is the other people?
I've gone from Uncle King to Uncle Goon to the other
You were
people.
never Uncle King. You tried to be Uncle King. It didn't work.
That's funny.
You've been Uncle
No,
Goon.
they started that. I didn't start
That's
Uncle
true.
King. They started that.
Well, they said that it was good fun for cousins for you to take them to dinner.
Nice.
I told them that Uncle Goon and Aunt Sarah were taking their cousins to dinner.
Yeah, just the one. The other one went home already.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully you guys had a lovely dinner.
We did.
All right. So so far we have discussed the 3 episodes that had David Tennant. So catch up with us real quick and give us your
Very
take
good.
on all of them. Well, I refill my tea.
I thought it was a great way to provide some closure for 10/14. The tragedy of that entire arc was I don't want to go, because he knew he was unfinished. And he got a chance to actually tie up the story with Donna, got a chance to actually relax and not fight all the time. I thought that was super cool. And it was just, RTD did his best. The writing was fantastic. Definitely laid some groundwork for things that are to come, which I liked. With the boss and he who remains, or whatever that the toy maker said.
Right.
For the 3 specials, I think those are my thoughts. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah. Are you the beep of the meep?
I am not the beep of the meep.
Are your arms too long?
No, my arms are not too long. Did anyone else have a really what's going on, time jumpy kind of moment there when they were doing that?
The writing was incredible.
Yeah, the writing was really good.
The dialogue, and just we talked about it, but yeah, the dialogue and the back and forth is just incredible there. You're just like, what am I watching?
Right. Right.
And the fact that you had 4 characters being played by 2 actors that were all the same character.
Very good.
The CGI is incredible now. Oh my God. The upgrade to the CGI is just on, the CGI was always decent, 2005, 2010 TV money, but the CGI is beyond reasonably good.
Right. It went from Starscape to Battlestar or Farscape to Battlestar Galactica over the course of the last 10 years. Because it was much more puppety / with a little bit of CGI in the background, to now it's just all CGI and everything is just it's not a budget thing. I think that they finally have caught up to the technology, because the technology is a little bit more affordable for that kind of a show. So
right.
So going back to the end of the Toymaker episode, when they're playing catch, right? Apparently Ncuti, am I saying his name
Ncuti
right?
Gatwa.
Thank you. Ncuti could not catch the ball to save his life.
He couldn't.
That's funny.
And so he even tried to palm it and just have it from behind the fingers show up, right? And he couldn't manage the sleight of hand. So they ended up having to CGI the ball for him.
That's funny.
But
Catch
David
the
Tennant
ball, bro.
Yeah, right.
and Neil Patrick Harris were actually catching the ball.
They just had it in his hand the whole time, would CGI it out,
Right. Caught it.
There is
Got
an
it.
interview done with those three guys, Shuti, David, and Neil Patrick, talking about that scene. And apparently they were super, I mean, you can tell watching that scene, they were super physical, right? They're like on trampolines and jumping into
Mhm.
mats and slamming up against walls and whatever. And then David Tennant goes, well, I was going to do the one-handed cartwheel, but then Shuti did it first. And since he's the new guy, I figured I'd let him have the cartwheel, even though my cartwheel is better.
They asked, was like, you gonna do it? Nope, we already did it. Not gonna do.
Yeah.
I'm good. He took care of it. Now I don't have to.
But it was really funny listening to them kind of play off of each other during the interviews that they've done. And there's been quite a few.
I also thought it was really neat the way that scene was played out because, like, ball was the game, right? Catch the ball. And they talk about it in that interview. They filmed as many different kinds of ways you could catch a ball excitingly as possible and captured it in 3 minutes. And it was riveting television. It was good to watch. Like, it didn't suck on screen. You know what I mean? The filmography and the way they're doing things, it's a lot of fun.
Apparently the script was 2 full pages of just the word catch on every single line.
Catch.
So, I also like that Donna ends up working for UNIT.
Yeah, that's a nice closure to that.
That negotiation tactic, I want to know if I can get that to work for me at any point.
Probably not.
She's offered, a salary and however many holidays, and she's like, no, we're going to triple that, and we're going to change it to like 10 weeks of holiday. She's just like, okay, I want that.
That would be nice.
That's why it's called science fiction.
Yeah.
Right?
I
I
just
don't
want to
know.
work
My
for
contract's up for new negotiations at the end of January. It's probably not going to happen that way, but
I just want to work for UNIT.
well, yes, that too. So, Mark and I just watched
The Christmas special.
the Christmas special.
Mhm.
And in my opinion, David Bowie, much better Goblin King.
Much better.
Better looking.
The goblins
More
were
talented.
so fucking cool, though.
They're so creepy.
They looked super creepy. They were a little bit Christmassy, but not like overly Christmassy,
Yeah,
And they looked completely different, but they almost looked human too. Like they really made them, like, the body shape looked like tiny little people. It was really cool animation.
It was very, very much Gremlin vibes.
Yes, absolutely.
And then you get the song, and the song is
Mhm.
just wonderful and fun.
both songs.
They
actually
join
were pretty
singing,
fun.
and Shuti's got a pretty good voice.
Well, he's been asked several times if there will be an all musical episode of Doctor Who. So many other shows have done it. I mean, even Star Trek now has a musical episode.
I love the Scrubs musical episode. That one's good.
And so he's like, you know what? It's not out of the question. It's definitely something that's like, it's on the table. Not sure if it'll get picked up, but it's an idea.
Mhm.
And after seeing that little bit, I could see it.
Mm-hmm. And they opened the door for a lot of storylines.
So many.
I want to know who the fuck the neighbor
Lot of
is.
Storylines. There are
Mr.
and Russell T Davies is so good at this, but
Right.
there are already 24, it feels like, fan theories on
Oh
who
God,
the neighbor
there's got to
could
be more.
Oh, Mrs. Flood is, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen any of them, but they're all good. They're all so good.
They're all
Well, 'cause
good.
she breaks the fourth wall and is just staring into the camera. What, have you never seen a TARDIS before?
Right. And she very much wasn't that person at the beginning, so she got replaced.
I think no. I don't know if she got replaced or if she was just playing a role.
Yeah.
There are so many fan theories. I will tell you what my favorite one is. I think because the master, I think, is too easy.
Yeah,
especially
that's
since
not
they
the master.
just-
The master is coming back. We saw that, right?
They
With the
just
two-
referenced him, and they had the tooth thing and whatever. I think she's the Ronnie. I really do.
Ooh.
That would make sense.
I
And
liked
it's someone they've teased a lot, or maybe I don't maybe necessarily think they've teased
hinted at.
the Ronnie, but I think that there's been a lot of talk about her, and I think that would be a really cool thing for them to bring back because we haven't seen her in New Who at all.
No,
She's very
there were a
much,
lot of fan theories that
an
the
old
church,
Who.
the Pope of the Church of the Papal Mainframe was actually the Ronnie too. But I think that she's actually just a different version of River Song. But one of the ones that I thought was really interesting was that she is Susan, the granddaughter.
Oh, the original.
Oh,
Yeah.
that'd be
How
wild.
wild would that be?
I could see
The
that.
original companion.
I could see that.
So there's a million of them. You know,
Mhm.
like you said, the master's a possibility, but I don't think that she's.
That's too easy.
I don't think
Yeah.
she's a villain.
Right.
I do think that we're gonna find out that it's gonna be something tying back to Old Who, because
Which there's the Ronnie. I mean, that's what that is.
Right.
Right.
well, and that's really what we've been getting a lot of these, with this 60th anniversary is a lot of conclusion to stories, but also throwback to Old Who. Even the Meep was a comic book, storyline for Doctor Who from the 70s. You have the Toymaker. I mean, like this was a lot of throwback brought more current.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that is what makes the most sense to me is for her to be something, going back to Old Who and not, I guess we're going to have to start calling it like the middle generation because this is supposed to be a brand new reboot of Who where he's the 15th Doctor, but it's season 1.
So we've got New Who, we have Millennial Who, and then we have Old Guy Who. How about that?
Yeah, that works.
Mhm.
Good.
All right.
Good talk.
What do you guys think about the new sonic screwdriver?
My first thought is, did he take the height of a Cyberbat? That was
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's more an iPod than it is a Sonic.
It
It
looks like a
kind of looks
mouse.
like a wireless mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It,
kind of.
it looks like a fidget toy.
Right.
Hi, Ghost of Sarah.
I think they are going to make him a little more tech savvy.
Well, they're definitely
Potentially.
making him go back to like the doctor is ridiculously smart.
Yeah.
The fact that he can now read ropes.
That was fucking weird how they did that, but I
That was
loved it.
hilarious. There's a Cyberbat. They're like little robot rats.
Oh yeah, it's like the one they had in the one with James Corden.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
was the new version of the Cybermat.
Yeah. I like the Sonic. I mean, it's
I like it.
it's got its own life as a MacGuffin. It fixes a lot of shit. The one thing I was struck with the Sonic, especially in the first three, was the ability of the Doctor to create a panel out of nowhere and just do shit on it with his
Yeah.
Sonic, which is something new. I thought that was pretty cool.
That was really cool.
So I think we're to see more functionality out of instead of just
I had watched all of Jodie Whittaker as the doctor, so I didn't know if that was a carryover from her time as the doctor or if that was something brand new. I haven't finished her run.
It was new, but it is seemingly an extension of kind of what happened with her because she did get a little more tech savvy towards the flux and stuff like that. So I think it's an extension of the character.
I just love the fact that they're writing it so that he can be like a super genius again instead of just like, the way, and I love Matt Smith. I know he's your favorite doctor. He's one of mine too. I love the guy, but he was kind of aloof a lot of times until he got Stormy. But even then, they never really showed him as the genius. He was more of, whimsical and wonderful and that kind of thing, and showing Tennant's ability to be sciencey. Like, I never said that it wasn't a part of it, but I feel like they're putting an emphasis back on the fact that this guy is super intelligent.
I feel like Peter Capaldi definitely had that, I'm so smart, everybody else in the room is dumb.
He had the arrogance for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, he had the know that I'm the smartest person in this room by a lot.
Your brains are all too
Way.
small.
Yeah, Eccleston was very much that way too. He was very much the smartest guy in the room,
Yeah,
and
but
that was
Eccleston's
more
smart,
his
so,
personality than it was anything else. Like Eccleston's own persona, kind of embodiment in the character of Who.
Yeah.
But I think that's a very good point. I think his intelligence is going to show a little bit more in figuring stuff out. And they started that a little bit even with, in the specials, with him being able to figure out what things went where and how it all fit on the ship, and just put the board in the
absolutely.
spot. And
The moment I
able to
really
see-
liked was when he did base 10. When he sounded out base 10 on the computer to figure out the language, but he explained base 10 to Donna. And I'm like, yeah, that's base 10. That's how you figure out the numbers 1 through 10 in any, order. But they showed him actually figuring it out and actually taking like 30 seconds to figure out base 10 instead of like hours or days to figure it out like most people do,
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree.
I got the official How to Be a Time Lord guide for Christmas.
Okay. Well, you let us know when you figure that out, Captain Two Hearts.
I'm working on it. Dog,
The other
give me your
thing-
heart.
The other thing that struck me in the episode was it was a throwaway line, and it was, I think, something that a lot of people wanted to know is what are they going to do about the timeless child story? And when he said he was adopted, you knew right then and there that they are not going to ignore it.
Nope.
And it's probably going to show up again.
Yep. They're not throwing that away. And you saw that with the way that they focused on the flux in the specials, right?
And they really could have, like, with the way that they're doing the reboot, and everybody had, been speculating that was okay. That was such a crap storyline. It's just going to be gone now. Nope, we're going to embrace it. We're going to turn it into a thing.
Well, they're going to approach it. I'm assuming they're going to approach it a little differently.
Yeah, they have to.
Just because, and they're going to make it make more sense because, yes, there's been some inconsistencies, I think, across all writers in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
But Chibnall's inconsistency was within episodes. It was inconsistent.
Yeah.
And I think that's being corrected at this point. So
I mean, it's one of the big reasons why they brought back Russell T Davies. First off, he's an amazing writer, but just bringing him back to kind of help clean up some of the storylines.
Right. And storylines have always been jumbly across writers and across doctors. Like, how many times have they killed Davros? It's just happened more than once. It happened in Tom Baker's Who. They're the timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly. They there's ways to get around everything just because of the nature of the particular character and the way that they can write it. So it's going to be super interesting. I'm really looking forward to spring.
I was one of those ones pounding the table for them, saying they just have to get rid of that, and it's awful. But the fact that I just have immense faith in Russell T Davies and his writing, and I'm not just talking about his Who writing, everything else that he's done. I just have immense faith that he'll take care of the story, and I'm interested to see what he does with it. And I'm very hopeful. I'm optimistic about it.
Plus, if you guys couldn't tell by the fact that we decided to go with Amethyst Monday as our username for tonight, I'm already really loving Ruby Sunday.
Yeah, Ruby Sunday's great.
Right.
Oh, she seems like she's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, God. She's very Clara and Amy at the same time. And I love it.
Yeah. Looking forward to
with a little bit of Donna
wildness.
sprinkled in. Like the
And
hard-headed stubbornness.
there's a lot of everything there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of everything going on.
It's like all of my favorite companions have been mushed into one.
And she's got a great
and she's got a backstory that they're definitely going to explore.
There's
like,
so much
her
there.
mom and all of that. There's going to be more there, and she's going to be important to the arc of the story more so than I think a lot of people think.
Yep, I can't wait. It's always Doctor Who is always about the companion, because we know who the Doctor is, and he's this guy. But he always has to take people along, and it's more about their story than it is about his, because his is going to be fairly consistent. I also enjoyed that the Doctor was ready to be the Doctor after the Bi-Generation, so they didn't have the problem of spending an entire episode or 2 or 3 figuring out who the Doctor is. He was just ready to go. You start getting his personality right away, and he's who he is right away. And I liked that different approach on it. You're not getting a whole story about focusing on. He already knows who he is. He's just doing things. It was really well done.
And they're approaching it with he's the old adventurous Doctor who wants to just experience things and do things, but he's not carrying all the weight anymore.
Exactly.
So,
and he's having fun. He's having a lot of fun.
That's why there's a jukebox in the control room of the TARDIS.
He is having a lot of fucking fun. Like, who else is gonna? Which other Doctor do you know is gonna show up at a nightclub in a kilt and a tank top?
I loved that so much that he was just dancing his ass off.
I fucking loved it, man.
We've seen him for an episode and a quarter, and he's already been in 3 different outfits.
Yeah.
The whimsical part of that and how he's more along for the ride than trying to control it reminds me a lot of Patrick Troughton, the second Doctor, because he was very much the same way. I would not be surprised if we saw a flute at some point this season, because that was very much a very key component of that character.
And even the outfit.
A little bit. It's not quite so ruffly. Like Troughton had the ruffles. He was a little bit throwback to.
But the
throwback to.
Yeah.
Actually, was ahead of 3. But yeah, there's a little bit of that in there, and I think that's intentional. As there are bits and pieces of each Doctor in each Doctor, and no one understands that more than RTD, because you can tell he has a love and a passion for the story of the Doctor over all 15 iterations, right? And he is going to seed some of this stuff along the way, and I think that it really struck me when he was on the dance floor and just kind of living and existing, and then all of a sudden when it was time to get into action, he got into action. Very much Patrick Troughton.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I remember a lot of old interviews when he was taking over the show to begin with that said that one of his big influences and one of his favorite Doctors growing up was number 2. And it's that whimsical, that kind of not aloof, but enjoying things instead of doing things with a purpose, and then being there when things happen, and then, okay, well, I'm the Doctor, and you got a lot of that with Tennant too. And I think that's kind of the way Russell plays things, is the Doctor just winds up in situations that things happen beyond his control, and he's able to take the reins and save things, but he's just there, and that's very much 2 and Tennant. And yeah, this story was very much that he just happened to be there.
Right.
Well, and they kind of explained that too, that coincidences aren't necessarily coincidences.
Yep.
They do a lot to tell you that during the course of the episode, that not all coincidences just happen. Sometimes they're set up for something else.
Another fairly simple thing that we take for granted as humans that a Doctor Who writer has turned into, you need to think about that again.
Mm-hmm.
They're very good at that.
Yeah, Matt, you missed that portion of our discussion. Is Doctor Who is really good at taking something that's super commonplace, like Mark was saying earlier, like statues, and turning it into a whole nother situation. Mark won't let me get a weeping angel tree topper because he won't leave the tree topper in the same room alone with the dog when we leave the house.
Oh, because Sandy Dog's going to go back to the past and live out her life in 1942.
Just get the tree topper, you chicken shit.
Gonna get the tree topper because it sounds awesome. But
Right.
yeah, you missed that. We were talking about, the silence and, forgetting what you're doing when you turn around and that kind of stuff. And Doctor Who's always taken something kind of mundane or something you take for granted in everyday life and turned it on its head, and coincidences now, apparently.
Yeah, and accidents.
And accidents.
Mhm.
That's all goblin territory.
Yep. Gremlins.
Gremlins.
That's where I got the gremlin thing. So when we saw just the hands and they're like unplugging shit and tipping shit over, I'm like,
Yeah.
whatever
Yes.
this is, it's going to be a gremlin thing. I know they're not going to say gremlin, but that's what this is. Right?
Well, they call them goblins.
Enjoying the ride.
They have a song about the Goblin King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The song was so fucking
And that
great.
Goblin King does not have quite the same packaging.
Was anyone else
His
struck
demise
by
was
the
interesting.
violence? Was anyone else struck by the violence of the end of that
Yes,
episode?
that's
Oh,
what I was
yeah.
just saying. His
yeah.
demise was interesting to me.
Right. That was something that really stuck out to me. I was like, well, that's a little different because usually there's something that happens that was caused by something that happens that was caused by something the Doctor did, and then the episode's over. This
Yeah.
was that fucker's dead. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pulls him down into the steeple with his bare hands and kills him.
Yeah.
All because of Mavity.
Right.
He
Yeah. And they
literally
said
pulls
Mavity
the
again.
fucker
That was
out of
so
the
good.
sky and stabs him with a church.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
and
how
that-
he dies.
That kind of ties back to his, with the Matt Smith one, especially his love for children.
Oh yeah.
And
Like
church.
he will do absolutely anything to protect a child. And that's kind of, he's like, well, this is the only way to get rid of this shit. All right.
Well, and in
Yeah,
doing that,
and-
he doesn't
and
just
when Matt
save
Smith
one
would
child.
go-
He saves 33,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
and however many lives those kids have touched.
Right. And when Matt Smith would go Dark Doctor, when anyone would threaten his family, you knew that the depth of what he was capable was obviously evident on his face. And I think we're seeing a little bit more of that, even though you didn't quite see the expression, when they were at the church, right? The Church of the Silence, and he's talking to the leader, and his eyes go black, and he just looks at her and he says, "If you hurt her, I will come for you." And you just knew that he would.
Yeah.
The violence at the end of this episode was similar to that without this part, which I found interesting.
It reminded me a little bit of the Sycorac where David Tennant hit the dude with the tennis ball because he was trying to come for him. He was like, no second chances.
Yeah. No
Right.
second chances.
And
Yeah.
that's what it reminded me of was, okay, you went after one kid, great. You went after two, now you're fucked. And so instead of telling them that and giving him a warning or a chance at all, he pulls him out of the sky with a bare hand and stabs him with a fucking church. Right. Death by church. And not one falling on you, mind you. You get stabbed by the steeple, motherfucker,
Right.
and punctured. Like, I was
Right.
like, oh,
Right through the chest.
yeah. We were watching it and it happened, and I audibly went, oh, like,
So did I. I went, oh,
I was
God.
shocked. I was shocked.
That's
It wasn't gruesome or anything. It was kind of a little bit. They didn't really show any blood or anything, but it was still like, oh, that motherfucker's got a church sticking out of him.
Yep.
And the pirate goblins were great too, in their pirate ship,
Right.
pirate goblin ship.
With all the sales.
Sing karaoke.
Well, and how they did the language part, I loved that.
Yeah,
Their
Good.
language isn't robotics and electricity; it's ropes and
coincidences.
coincidences and all this stuff. It's like, oh, that's a brilliant way to do it. Yeah, like explain how this thing flies, and it's
Well,
because
and
they're
then-
very good at building stuff out of rope.
You get a really weird view into the Doctor's viewpoint in the dialogue there, where he says it's physics is a language. Like everything he says, he's like, I understand it because it's all a language, And so you get his intelligence comes from the fact that he speaks everything. It was just a weird little quirky, ropes is a language and physics is a language, and every time he mentioned something, it seemed like 3 or 4 times it was all about being a language, and that's why he was able to understand everything.
Which just goes to show how much or how important the language translator is within the TARDIS.
Monumentally in every episode, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to watch them.
All right, so we're coming up a little past an hour
Do you
now.
speak Sycorath? Because I don't.
Like, okay, Captain Obvious.
He protects the known. We will get more Doctor Who new season in spring of next year. A few months to wait, but it'll definitely be worth it. We will have to go back over more Doctor Who as we get closer to the new season starting. But before we call it a night here, final thoughts. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask the group one thing. What's the one thing you really like to see out of this season? Whether it's a character, a group of people, a tie-up to a storyline, besides what's obviously there, right? We're going to get the mom and we're going to get the boss and that stuff. But what's the one thing you want to see out of this? Because I've got an idea, and I want to see if anyone is on the same page as me.
Unprompted, I need a minute to think about that one.
I don't really have anything in particular that I want to see, and that's because I like being surprised with each new episode. I hadn't watched all of Doctor Who, and like I said, I still haven't finished all of Jodie Whittaker yet. But I hadn't watched all of it. I'd seen some of every Doctor before I met Mark, and so I already knew which Doctors I liked and companions I liked, but I didn't know the full extent of how much I was going to get sucked into the Whoniverse until just over the last couple of years. So I like that I don't know what to expect, and that, even though there's a lot of consistent themes, and you do have a lot of the same, bad guys, monsters and whatnot coming back, it's always done in a slightly different variety, a slightly different way. The companions have a lot of impact as to how, the Doctor responds to even, someone that he's seen before. The only thing I can think of, and again, unprompted, that I would really like to see again is K9.
K9 could be fun.
That's a good call out, right?
Yeah.
And that's just because I love K9, and if Sandy didn't already have a name when I met her,
K9.
it's possible.
I mean, her name is kind of K9. Her name is Dog.
Dog.
For me, I guess I'll jump in here. I am, again, I'm not in. I want to see what they do with the Master. There's almost got to be a Daleks or Cybermen story. There always is at least one of those two in every serial. For me, it's not about those things. I know I'm going to get them. For me, I'm really interested to see how these two work together and see their relationship, see more of this Doctor, see more of what he's capable of, like outsmarting people and what other sciencey shit he's going to do.
Plus, he already seems more emotional than any of the previous Doctors.
His instant emotion is just crazy to me. When he's realizes there's the 26 kids missing or 25 kids missing, and he's just shooting tears out of his eyes. It's wild to me. So I'm very interested to see how that part of it, the story is going to be there. I want to see how these two characters develop together, because I'm very intrigued by both of them.
Okay.
I think mine's going to be actually somewhat specific, and it's because it's something I've wanted to see for, I guess, about 10 years now. I want to see an update / resolution to the Hungry Earth and Cold Blood episodes.
Oh,
with the Silurians, because we were promised 1,000 years in the future something's going to happen again. and I kind of want to see what happens there. Like, what happens when the Silurians come back to the surface?
That could be fun. I mean, we already had the one Silurian who's just seemingly everywhere in time and space.
Oh yeah, but that doesn't count.
That was the Peter Capaldi where the boyfriend does the backflip over the guy.
The boyfriend does the backflip. Oh no! The Silurian is what's her name? Madame Vastra.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Austria.
and
Right.
the hot other one.
Yeah, right. I'll tell you what, and I love your point, Bobby, about being
Abstract.
surprised every time, right? And that's I have zero information on this at all, but I would love to see more Gallifreyans. I would love to see a return to Gallifrey at some point, and the giant headdresses, and just a return to the culture of Gallifrey for at least an episode, whether it's a return to the past that he has to do his thing, or if they figure out a way to bring it back or whatever. I would love to see more of Gallifrey. And
Well,
I can completely agree with that.
One of the fan theories is the next door neighbor, and I can't remember which Time Lord it is, but one of the theories is that she is a Time Lord.
that's the Ronnie. The Ronnie is a Time Lord.
Ronnie,
There's more than just Ronnie. There's a couple others that are out
okay.
there.
What has me the most excited, and this is just a complete, con nerd in me, is the fact that we'll have at least 2 months of New Who before Denver Fan Expo.
Con season.
So
for cosplay.
that gives me time to figure out cosplay.
See, with the thing you're looking at, like, they'd have to figure out how to recover Gallifrey after what happened with the Timeless Child.
Right. Timey wimey, wibbly wobbly, man. Anything's possible.
Well, and we know that the flux happened, so maybe they can say during the flux, when they re-expanded the universe after the flux,
Right.
maybe it brought Gallifrey back somehow.
Could be.
Anything's
see.
possible.
Anything's. It's Who, man. They can do whatever
We'll
they
see
want.
what the writing entails, man.
Maybe there'll be like a new Gallifrey for
Right.
those.
Oh,
who
that'd be
survived.
cool.
Like
They just do it on
New York.
Mhm. I mean, Peter Capaldi
No,
played
no, no,
three
no,
different
no, no, no,
characters in the same
Gallifrey.
universe. They can do whatever they want.
Right.
That's true.
But no, I
It's-
think
He was a
seeing more-
government functionary in Torchwood. He was a Pompey, and then he was a doctor. So I mean, really, the world is their oyster. That's just what I want. I would love to see that.
Yeah. I could definitely get behind more Gallifrey and K9.
Awesome. That's all I have.
All right.
Carry on.
So before we got onto that actually very interesting topic, final thoughts on how the 60th anniversary wrapped up and on our new doctor, starting with Tank.
Oh, I thought it was fun. I like how they explained away kind of what was happening with Tennant's doctor. Even though it's a new doctor, it's still kind of 10 finishing his story. I loved that, and I love that they gave Donna a good ending, finally, because she's actually probably my favorite companion, so I really enjoyed that. And then I love how they brought Ncuti into it. And they immediately, like you were saying, they immediately just jumped him in. No explanation, no need for backstory yet. Let's hit the floor running and just get the story going.
He didn't need to stop for tea or, custard and fish sticks.
Somebody
Mhm.
give Terry some goddamn tea already.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that poor old fucking woman just wants a cup of tea. Holy
She got one
fuck.
at the end.
She got one eventually.
Eventually.
All right. Matt?
Yeah, same. I was really struck by how they were able to jump immediately into Ncuti taking over the roles. Matter of fact, it was him that came up with the bi-generation theory right away. So it spoke to him being really on his 2 legs and running before learning to walk. The 3 episodes I thought were fantastic. I love finishing up that story with Donna and the Doctor 10 being, or 10 and 14 being able to finally relax. That tragic last line of "I don't want to go" isn't the last that we've seen. Now it's "I've never been so happy," which is not an ending that we get for a lot of our favorite characters, and I thought it was fitting that he did.
I loved that he was the 10th Doctor, but he was also the 14th Doctor, because what happened in between still impacts who he is now as the 14th Doctor. And he has little like quips and things that he says that tie back into the doctors that happened in between him and him.
It's really funny how many lifetimes, literally since David Tennant has taken the role, the Doctor has had. Tennant had two. This is technically Tennant's third time, because in the 50th he was stolen out of his own timeline, but he had the self reboot. You remember? So this is technically his third time. But he's also, Matt Smith had, he defended Christmas for 10,000 years or whatever the fuck it was, and then Peter Capaldi lived, what was it, like several millennia.
2 billion years.
Yeah, that's what it was. The 2 billion years. It's just, and he's lived that life. So it was nice to see, like you said, the two different Tennants. He's older and more tired, but it's still the same guy, and he still has fun. And it was well done. It was good to see Bernard Cribbins. It was good to see that story come to a close. Sort of weirdly, they didn't really fully come to a close because he's still out shooting ducks and shit.
Gophers.
Gophers. That's what it was. He's shooting gophers.
Oh,
Crazy old Wilf is still doing his shit. I thought the writing was very good. I feel like Russell T Davies doesn't have to apologize for anything that he's doing. He is doing exactly what Doctor Who was invented for, bringing everybody who wants to be a fan of science fiction into the fold and making them feel welcome. I thought it was all very well written. I thought the stories were great. The acting was good. And just, it seemed to me to be a tremendous upgrade in cinematography from what we've seen previously. That's my thoughts.
I was really excited to have Neil Patrick Harris because I'm in love with him. But yeah, everything that you guys have said, it was great to see stories end and new stories open while bringing old stories back in that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited. I think that the new season of Who is going to be fantastic. I'm already loving this Doctor and companion. And there's so much that has already been laid out in just one episode. We have so much to learn about both of them.
And they did it in basically 2 locations. There was the one scene at the club, but for the most part, it's on the boat, or the boat, the boat is either floating above the house or it's floating above the church. And that's one of the things that Doctor Who is kind of famous for too, is very small scale sets and a lot of, giant grandiose universes and planets moving and that kind of thing. But it can also be a very small story that is such a big part of it.
And I think that speaks to the origins of Who, because it was a very, very low budget children's series that was shot maybe on 2 stages the first 3 or 4 years before I don't even think they even went outside until late 2, early 3, when they got stranded and had to work with Unit. And then Tom Baker spent all his time outside. But I think that harkens back to the origins when it was just for kids, just a whimsical kind of adventure that this hero would bring people along for the ride, which I think has always been
Maniac in a box.
I wonder if we're going to get any more fan contributions like the Absorbaloff.
Oh, Jesus.
That was written by like a 10-year-old.
Yeah, it was the Blue Peter entry winner.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was.
But I wonder if we're going to get anything like that, especially now that Who is part of Disney.
Oh.
It's an
Does
interesting.
that mean that Ruby Sunday's a Disney princess?
Damn
Yes,
straight.
She absolutely is.
And so's the Doctor.
Well, I mean, she is an orphan, so that does
Actually-
stick with Disney tradition.
Yeah,
He's more of a
very-
Disney queen.
She's
right.
She could be Rapunzel, guys. What if she's
Very much
Rapunzel?
on brand. Doesn't have the
And
hair.
then we'll get Max.
What if she is Rapunzel? Like genuinely, like what if the person who dropped her off was Mother Gothel, who was just sick of her shit, so she just dropped her at the doorstep. So it's Mother Gothel. This is Rapunzel.
Sick of her shit after 6 hours. That's
Yeah, 6 hours later.
But you know what? There are some people who should
a few
not have
moments
children.
later.
But then we could get Maximus, and that would be fun.
All right. So more Doctor Who to come. More nerds week after next. Follow My Brother's an Idiot for more sports talk next week. You guys are getting into the playoffs and all of that insanity.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt, go ahead and drop our socials.
Make sure you follow Nerds That Know on all of the social channels. You can find My Brother's an Idiot on Facebook. Just search that. Look for the black logo. Logo will get you in. Mark's Twitch, Twitter, and TikTok are at Poffletime. My Twitch and Twitter are at Pofflupagus. You can also find me on TikTok at King Goonsmoke.
And don't forget Knox Nostalgic Collectibles for all of your vintage video game and comic book and other type stuff. He is Knox Nostalgic Collectibles on all of the socials.
Yep.
So we try to make it easy. Knox Nostalgic and Nerds That Know, consistent across the board. It's just the goons that try to fuck you up. And on that beautiful note, we'll catch you guys in a week.